swim practice and stuff. So I'm going to share with you guys tonight kind of a personal story of mine and kind of like how I grew up through high school and stuff. I'll wait till Alex is done. All right, so so as I said, I'm going to share kind of a personal story about myself with you guys and just to kind of share the knowledge, you know. So like many of you guys, I've been raised a Christian. I was born in a Christian home, been going to church throughout my whole life. And I was actually homeschooled from 2nd grade to 8th grade. So I just kind of cruised, like just kind of going to church, you know, not really thinking much of it throughout all my junior high years. Probably different from a lot of you guys because you guys go to actual like schools and stuff. But anyway, so that's a little different. I was kind of a weird kid going into high school, and going to high school was like a big step for me because I kind of was in a homeschooling environment with my brother, my mom, and not very many other kids. And I was just getting kind of thrown into high school. It was kind of a small high school anyway. My class freshman year is about 100 people, so it still wasn't that big, but it was just a big change for me. Freshman year, my faith was kind of stagnant. I really didn't do much, didn't really think much about my faith at all. And then actually between freshman and sophomore years, I transferred schools from a school called St. Lawrence Academy to where I go now, the King's Academy. Yeah, all right. Woo. Anyway, so I switched schools, right? And then St. Lawrence was kind of I don't really think much of it. But when I went to King's, there was like a huge Christian, like it's a Christian school, and there's just a big, just kind of a movement on campus where like most of the people that are Christian, you're in a Christian environment. Pretty much everybody you talk to is going to be Christian, and so like it was kind of a new environment. But the thing was it wasn't really challenging for your faith. So like because everybody was a Christian, so everybody's just kind of like, yeah, you're a Christian, I'm a Christian, that's cool, we're Christians, let's be friends. But it wasn't really challenging a lot. And then as I went through sophomore year, actually, I made a bunch of new friends and stuff. And but as I was like hanging out with these friends that all said they were Christians and stuff, it was kind of like they were Christian at school, they were Christian when you saw them, but then on the weekends they do stuff that Christians shouldn't do. So it was kind of like rocked my world. It was like, dude, these guys are Christians, but they're doing all this stuff, and it's like, that's kind of crazy, man, that you can like be worshiping God, going to say, being like, oh, I'm crazy for Jesus, and then be doing the total opposite stuff on the weekend and stuff. What? Yeah, kind of like that. Kind of like two-faced, if you want to say. All right, so then junior year rolled around, and it was kind of like, so I took the whole summer off, didn't really hang out with anyone from school, and then junior year rolled around, and we got in this Bible class, and one of the first things we went over actually was this verse that just kind of hit me hard, because I hadn't really been doing much with my faith, and we went over this whole section, and it's 1 Corinthians 10:31, and so whether you eat or drink or whatsoever you do all to the glory of God. And that verse just kind of hit me because like throughout this whole time I had been swimming, and I'm a pretty big athlete, and don't mean to boast, but I'm talented. God gave me these gifts, and He just made me an amazing athlete. And I don't mean to brag or anything, but you know, I mean, you just got to say it sometimes. And so He gifted me with this, and till then I just been kind of swimming for myself, my friends, for other people's like gratification, like I'm good, so people think I'm good, so I feel good about myself. And then this whole section we went over was about like athletics and why we're given these gifts and what we should do with them. And so that verse hit me, and I was like, geez, maybe I should change my whole outlook on swimming, and maybe rather than swimming for my friends, swimming for myself, I should kind of take this position of where I'm like put because of swimming, and like I'm kind of put in a position of respect where people respect me because I'm because I'm a good athlete. So I should take this, and I'd be like, well, I can do this because God gifted me with this ability and this talent. And so a question I want to ask you guys is like, what talents do you guys have? Like, some kids are like, well, I'm not that talented, I'm not that great at really anything, but if you really look deep down inside, then you're good at something. I mean, it can be something just like talking to somebody, being a good friend, being nice, and everybody's got some kind of gift and some kind of talent that God's given you to be able to like impact somebody else's life. So what I want to kind of get into is, so God if you want to go to the next slide, I'll just do that. So we have, the first blank is, we have abilities so that we can glorify God. Because with our abilities, we have a choice really of whenever we perform, whenever we do anything really, is we can use that to glorify ourselves and be like, I'm so great. Or we can be like, you know what, I can do this because God lets me do this and because God gave me the abilities to do this. And so I want to share a story with you guys from Matthew. It's a parable. And it's the parable of the talents. Have any of you guys heard this? All right. Silence. Crickets. All right. So basically what goes down in the story is this guy, he owns like a huge, I guess, a farm. And he has 3 servants. And he takes these 3 servants aside. He's like, hey, I'm going to give you guys these talents. And back then, the talents were considered money. So 20 gave 5, 20 gave 3, and 20 gave 1. And he said, go out. I'll let you guys go for a year and do whatever you want with this money. But just come back to me in a year and tell me what you've done with it. So the first guy that got 5 talents goes out and he uses the talent. He grows it. He invests it. And he comes back in the next year, and he has 10 talents. He's doubled it. And the owner's like, wow, that's amazing. The second guy, who got 3, he goes out and he does the same thing, he comes back to 6 talents. But the guy who got 1, he was so afraid of losing his 1 talent that he went out and buried it because he didn't want to risk losing it or not just losing it. So he went out and buried it, and he didn't grow it, he didn't use it. And what happened when he came back is the owner got really mad at him. He's like, well, I gave you this, and I told you to use it, and you just buried it, and you hid it, and you didn't do anything with it. So that's kind of like God, what he does to us. When he makes us, he gives us these abilities, and he wants us to go out there and use them for him, and to bring it back and be like, hey, look what I did with the ability and talent that you gave me, not just bury it and hide it and not do anything with it. And so that's kind of my whole message, and we'll wrap up there. And so, as a personal story for me, what I did with mine, so I swim stuff, and my swimming's taken me to Australia, to Florida, to all these different places, and I just kind of use it, and whenever people ask me, they're like, because I pray before my events and stuff, and people and when I get out, a lot of people, if they don't do well, they get angry, and I'm super chill about it, and they're like, dude, why don't you get angry when when you don't swim well or when you do poorly? I'm like, because I know that, this isn't mine, this is all God's, and when you do well, you got to give it to God, and when you do bad, you just got to give it up, because whatever you do, And so yeah, that's pretty much my whole thing there. Hope you guys can learn something from that.